2.
Well, good morning, Sun Worshipers. This is George McClellan and George's Hour at FetcherNews.com, and we are speaking. Fetcher News is North Georgia's only live internet morning show, and I'm glad that you're here listening to me. In the back, you'll see a picture of the LJ roundabout and crowds of people. And I just got to say one thing: the roundabout has yield signs at all the intersections. It does not have stop signs. Yield signs means yield, but it doesn't mean give up. And one of my little pet peeves is that people come up to a yield sign and they come to a complete stop before they even start looking around to see who's coming from the left or right. Train yourself to make that, particularly in this upcoming season of the Apple Festival, train yourselves to make that flow very nicely. And as far as the roundabout is concerned, a roundabout, in my opinion, is the solution for the 515 Industrial Boulevard problem we have with traffic there. That was years ago when there was one car every 15 minutes. What we've got there now worked, but now that's not the case anymore, and that has to be solved. And I think a roundabout on 515, at that point, a big roundabout, not a little one, to take in Hardee's and the tattoo shop, and would not have to take out the bridge, but the little shop, building on the other side of the street, which used to be a Prudential real estate office, and then a tool rental place. Those are eminent domain, can take those. Hardee can move across the street next to Arby's and still have plenty of room. That, to me, that is the solution to that driving problem. We had the shooter in Washington State, and as Brian said earlier, the press immediately said he was Hispanic. And why was he Hispanic? Because he had dark hair and brown skin. Now, is that racist or what? They jumped to the conclusion that it was anything but a Muslim or a Middle Eastern man who has brown skin and black hair. And by golly, it was a Turk. A young 20-year-old Turk. He murdered five people, 4 women and a man. So now we know the truth. And do we think it's ISIS related? They're not saying, but while he did not say Allah Akbar, Akbar, God is great, he mentioned some other little phrase that praised Allah, and so maybe there's a connection. I'm sure we'll find out about it. On the same vein, have you read this? There's a woman an elderly woman right here in Atlanta was murdered in her bed by 5 black youths. That story has just disappeared. She was 83 years old. She had a blueberry farm. These 5 black youths, among many other people, she paid them to harvest her blueberries. They came back in the middle of the night, beat her with a gun, broke into her house, beat her with a gun, broke her arm, broke fingers in her hand, and then they set her afire. She managed to put the fire out, apparently, after they left. But she succumbed, and she got to her cell phone and called her daughter 911. But she did succumb to her injuries in the hospital. So it didn't take them long to find these 5 black youths, 3 male, 2 female, and that brings us to the problem of Charlotte and what Charlotte represents. I'm going to go into a little bit of that because it's important. The question is, why Charlotte? Well, because Charlotte happened. It's what happened. It's the latest incident that happened that can be taken advantage of. And I'm going to tell you some things that probably will be a surprise to you, but we are involved, and we all know this, in a social disaster that has been brewing for 50 years. And I'm at a loss for a solution. Well, I have a solution, but it's not one that would be acceptable to most people in our country. The black complaints are all the same: institutional racism, discrimination, and now they've added white privilege. Why is Kill Whitey excused as only the frustrated utterings of a poor black youth and not a hate crime or an encouragement to riot? The intense racism of black blacks manifests itself in interracial rapes, assaults, beatings, attacks, armed robbery, and then burning down of their own businesses and their own communities. There is no solution to be found under socialist or progressive Democrat policies. The problem simply will not go away. Blacks as a race show themselves incapable of functioning in modern society, but they can, because a lot of them do, and I do. This is not a broad brush. This is what we all see with our own experience and know and understand. If educated, they can. There are exceptions, a lot of them, but the central fact remains, and political correctness prohibits even acknowledging this obvious truth. But I'm here, politically incorrect, talking to you about it. Blacks, for example, lag far behind whites and Asians academically. Now you can view that as you wish, but the sad fact remains that studying in schools is the same as acting white, and the achievers are deemed to be rising above their station and are punitively punished by the class from which they arise. This cannot be good for multiculturalism, and the depth of their resistance makes their plight impervious to any conceivable social or economic program of relief. They live where they are kept, and some call it the Democrat plantation, but they don't seem to want to escape from that. Many do, and we have a lot of acquaintances. So what's the answer? For government, if it can't be fixed by a government program, then ignore it. By using the government program, they throw money at it through unworkable schemes that don't even rise to the level of constitutionality, but demand fairness with programs like affirmative action. That silly program, now an entitlement rather than an entry door, tossed aside all requirements for job qualifications except for skin color, arriving alive and upright to your first interview and being able to write their name. For this reason, qualified whites are pushed out for less qualified blacks, but the blacks in the inner cities will never be employable because their attitudes work against them. And now Obama brings in illegals to compete with Americans. And soon even the employable blacks as well as whites will be jobless again and still without useful job skills. In the inner cities, blacks show little inclination for study or work, but don't ever mention it. A Mexican woman will work as a maid until she figures out something better. A black woman never will. A Salvadorian man will make his way up from Central America, chancing the beatings by Mexican police, the train ride of death to the border. He'll sneak into a country whose language he doesn't understand, work a construction job, send the money back to his family, and a black guy won't even get on buy a bus ticket in Chicago to go to the same job. Does anyone see any hope for change? Not likely. Meetings between the sides, black versus everybody else, will not work because discussions mainly consist of screaming and yelling about white racism or liberal hypocrisy. The whole black family, the only element who could make their schools work, make their children do their studies, or stay off the streets at night, won't do it because they basically no longer exist. Charlotte shows us the cultural divide is unbridgeable. Blacks are an aggrieved, angry people whose existence is widely separated from the civilization of whites. I'm talking about white European civilization. There is little desire for assimilation, and actually they actively reject it. We see it now in the colleges. They're demanding separate facilities, separate classes, and they want to exclude whites from their education, what they're getting of it. There's little desire for assimilation. In Latin countries, blacks speak normal Spanish. In France and former French colonies, they speak normal French. In America, they are permitted to speak whatever they think gets their message across, because otherwise, they'd be acting white. To reinforce the differences, they give their children weird names like La Toyota and Keyshawn. Their music is frequently obscene, often hostile to whites, glorifying sex, rape, and misogyny. The core of blackness seems to consist of, first, a belief that all of their travails spring from the privilege of whites, and second, that whites owe it to them to solve their problems. In politics, the focus is entirely cosmetic. For example, Obama just ordered the Justice Department to use justice-involved youth instead of juvenile delinquents, and to cease using the word Negro. Now, how will this improve literacy in the ghetto? It's not clear. I don't understand. He wants schools to suspend for infractions black and white students proportionately, being unhappy that blacks are suspended at higher rates. Well, they commit higher offenses because of who they are. His is a quintessential black point of view. Everything springs from racism, to which blacks don't have any. And the solution is always a federal regulation that burdens everybody and then is forgotten. Obama never says that black kids ought to study more or that black women ought to behave responsibly in childbearing. He clearly believes them incapable of doing it, a position indistinguishable from that of the old Ku Klux Klan years ago. They both seem to be right. Why should things be otherwise? Blacks have no roots in European civilization, nor in African. If slavery decultured the African blacks, leading to a free-floating miasma of American blackism, then assimilation is lost. That is unfortunate, which changes nothing. The denomination African American serves more to separate them from whites than to link them to Africa. Americans of African descent might be a more realistic title to apply to that group. America's racial experiment has failed, but we must not say so. I suspect that most of us already know it. To admit it would be to concede the unspeakable. So what now? It is apparent that nothing of any use is going to be done, and probably nothing can be done, at least under the present circumstances. The police, they have become the visible focus of the blacks' complaints against government. They argue that pulling all police out of black neighborhoods would end complaints of racism by cops, maybe, but then it would leave the ghettos utterly in control of criminal gangs. The calls for the burning of white neighborhoods do not bode well. Whites are now well armed. Gun sales are way up. Most folks have no desire to shoot someone, but will do so if their homes are threatened. So what now? The Ferguson, Baltimore, Milwaukee, and now Charlotte events may calm down, but if they do, the underlying situation will not have changed one iota. Nobody seems to have any more idea than I do what to do about it. None at all. It's interesting that we got to talk about these problems. We've got to bring them into the refreshing sunlight of understanding, and we've got to talk about them freely. There's not a thing in the world that says any black person is incapable of advancing. You see, even in Atlanta, we on the news we see these little black children, all primed and ready to go to school. They want to learn just like any kid in the world. They want to learn, but they're burdened by their environment, and before long, that enthusiasm is gone. It's the modern school just soaks it out of them. The debate tonight. We want to talk about the debate tonight. Just a minute. I know that Brian did a little bit, but I'm going to say a couple of things, and I'll be there tonight. The Democrats, I think, are certainly running scared, and based on what I see on some of the websites, their concerns are manifest in not knowing what Trump will appear at that show tonight. Will it be Trump the bomb thrower or the soft-spoken politician? Hillary apparently is practicing for both, and she will try to get under Trump's skin, but I don't know how she can do it. She can't call him a liar and then survive the counterattack, because her whole career is lies, and it's all documented now. She will be very cautious because She knows Trump will fire back. And she knows he has plenty of ammunition. Benghazi, the email scandals, and her lies that are on the record. Even the email scandals are now starting to pile up by last Friday's dump by the FBI. Trump, I think, should remain cool, aloof, maintain his composure, stick to the issues, and particularly the issues of our border wall and immigration. Trump will get on her nerves and get her out of her comfort zone. Expect that to happen. There are evidence enough that she is very vulnerable because she has problems maintaining her thoughts on issues. Maybe have something to do with her alleged neurological problems, maybe her Alzheimer's or Parkinson's or whatever it is they claim she has, I don't know. Certainly she had a head injury one time, and we've seen plenty of video evidence of the results of that. If Hillary plays her race card and her sex card, her women's card, Hillary, I think Trump will go for the knockout blow. And Trump's biggest advantage is he is secure in the knowledge, or should be, that Hillary is a carbon copy of Obama and his chaotic policies. On Hillary, do you remember, many of you do not, but I certainly do, and a lot of you will, when Bill Clinton was the president. We'll discuss this for a minute or two. When Bill Clinton was president, he allowed Hillary to assume authority over an attempt to create a health care reform. That was a disaster. Even after threats and intimidation, she couldn't even get a vote in a Democrat-controlled Congress over her health care reform, what we now know as Obamacare. Obama has taken the credit for that. That fiasco cost American taxpayers $13 million for studies, promotion, and salaries, other efforts. Then President Clinton gave Hillary authority over selecting a female attorney general. Do you remember how that went for him? A female attorney general. Her first two selections were Zoe Baird and Kimball Wood. Both were forced to withdraw their names from consideration. Why? Because they had illegal Latina maids working in their house. Next, he chose Janet Reno. Bill Clinton described her as his worst possible mistake. So anyway, we'll go along with these here, the rest of these in a few minutes, but now it's time to take a little break for our sponsors, and we'll be right back. This is FYN TV. I'm George McClellan. This is George's Hour.
Right now at Pizza Hut, you can get any 2 medium pizzas for $6.99 each. Get any toppings, any crust flavor, anything you want for just $6.99 each. And sweeten the deal with a Hershey's Triple Chocolate Brownie for just $5.99. Only at Pizza Hut.
What you gonna do with all that junk?
I'm Sheriff Dane Kirby, and I'll stand up for you.
I'm Stacy Nicholson, Sheriff of Gilmer County, and I will stand up for you.
Stand up and speak out. No matter how rich, cool, talented you believe yourself to be, how you treat people ultimately tells all. I am Allison Sosby, District Attorney, and I'll stand up for you.
El Rey and Ellijay.
El Rey Mexican Restaurant.
Family owned and operated and a local favorite for families, parties, and meetings.
Great prices.
Friendly service and delicious Mexican cuisine.
Patio dining available.
Come sing in Carlos's Cantina every Friday 9 to 1.
Eat in or take away.
Same location for 14 years. Open 7 days at the corner of Maddox Drive and 515. North Georgia's favorite Mexican cuisine. El Rey and Ellijay.
The summer sell down is on at Days Chevrolet in Jasper with huge savings up to 16% off MSRP. Save over $4,100 off Malibu Limited, now just $19,500. Save $9,500 on loaded Silverado Crew Cab LT, now only $38,700. Save up to 16% off MSRP on select new Chevys in stock during the summer sell down. Going on now at Days Chevrolet in Jasper.
Better days ahead, Days Chevrolet.
Find new roads.
North Georgia Diamond is your source for diamonds. Come on in to view the area's largest selection of fine jewelry at North Georgia Diamond. All repairs and designs are done on site by our jewelers. And North Georgia Diamond has the lowest prices on loose diamonds. You can also sell your gold, silver, and coins at North Georgia Diamond between Walmart and Lowe's in East Ellijay. Locally owned by Bill and Allison Craig, North Georgia Diamond is your source for diamonds in North Georgia.
Hello, America. The first ever $5 flavor menu is here, and it's a game changer. For just $5 each, you can get a medium one-topping pizza, Wing Street Wings, a Hershey's cookie, and your other Hut favorites. A Pizza Hut pizza for just $5? It's the ultimate crowd pleaser.
How are you feeling, crowd?
Very pleased, thank you.
We do what we can here.
$5 for a Pizza Hut pizza. How can we not be pleased?
Good crowd today.
The $5 flavor menu, America's best pizza deal, only at Pizza Hut.
Welcome back, fun lovers. This is George McClellan at FetcherNews.com, North Georgia's only live on-air television show. And we were talking about Hillary Clinton. I want to give everybody a phone number that you can call if you want to comment. I know that I have doubtless opened some doors, and if you want to comment on it, please be my guest. You can go to George at FetcherNews.com, or you can call 706-889-9700 and leave your message there. If you've got something to say and you want to comment, we'll put you on there. That we can do that. We were talking about Bill Clinton's choice for Attorney General. Hillary picked Janet Reno, which Bill said later was his worst mistake. Some may not remember that Janet Reno made the decision to murder David Koresh and the Branch Davidian religious sect in Waco, Texas, resulting in the death of 60 plus, I think, women and children. That is a mark on Hillary Clinton, and it should last forever. But, so what does Benghazi mean? 4 people dead when there were 60 plus killed in Waco, Texas. Hillary allowed Bill allowed Hillary to make recommendations for the head of the Civil Rights Commission. Lanny Gardner was her selection. With a little probing, Ms. Gardner, her radical views were revealed. She had to remove her name from consideration. Hillary chose former law partners Webb Huddle for the Justice Department, Webb Hubbell, Vince Foster for the White House staff, and William Kennedy for Treasury Department. How did that work out? Hubbell went to prison. Foster presumably committed suicide, but he's dead in any event with a gunshot wound to the head. And Kennedy was forced to resign. Many younger voters will have no knowledge of Travelgate. Hillary wanted to award, and this is right after they moved into the White House, the Clintons. Hillary wanted to award unfettered travel contracts to her friend Harry Thompson. and the White House Travel Office refused to comply. So she managed to have them reported to the FBI and fired. Well, that ruined their reputations, cost them their jobs, and caused a 36-month investigation. How much did that cost? Several $million. Only one employee, Billy Dale, was charged with the crime, and that was of the crime of mixing personal and White House funds. A jury acquitted him 2 hours after close of the trial. Still not convinced of her ineptness, husband Bill allowed Hillary to recommend another close friend, Craig Livingston, for the position of Director of White House Security. Now, I thought that's what the Secret Service was for. But this guy's job was to meddle and protect the Clintons. And how he did it. When he was investigated for the improper access of 900 FBI files of Clinton enemies, which came out as Filegate, everything has a gate to it, of course, after Watergate, Filegate, and the widespread use of drugs by the White House staff, suddenly Hillary and the president denied even knowing Livingston, and of course, denied knowledge of drug use in the White House. My question is, the way this is written, access to 900 FBI files, why would the FBI even give them to this guy if he wasn't cleared? I mean, when I was a federal agent and I wanted to check an FBI file, our offices were in the same building in West Los Angeles. I had to go upstairs to the FBI office, show my credentials, fill out a piece of paper, and then a clerk behind the desk would check with his boss and see what I could get. Well, generally I always got what I wanted, the full file. Once, however, there was a little ruffle of concern about how the FBI files were shared, and the clerk asked me for my identification card, which I've showed him every day for months, practically, and so I irked him by asking for his identity card, and I got what I wanted anyway. But the FBI doesn't give these files away. My agency, we didn't give files away. You had to have a need to know. It's a need to know. So we have absolute corruption there. That's absolute corruption. These people, the Clintons, elevated political corruption to the highest level possible, and we appear to be powerless to do anything about it. Well, following the debacle of Livingston, the FBI closed its White House office. And that was a liaison office, of course, after more than 30 years of service to 7 presidents. Next, when women started coming forward with allegations of sexual harassment and rape by Bill Clinton, Hillary was put in charge of the bimbo eruption and scandal defense. Some of her most notable decisions in the debacle were she urged her husband not to settle the Paula Jones lawsuit. And after the Starr investigation, they settled the Paula Jones lawsuit. She refused to release the Whitewater documents. Now, this is not Watergate, but Whitewater, the law firm that she worked for, the Rose Law Firm in Arkansas. Whitewater was a housing real estate deal. She refused to release the Whitewater documents, which led to the appointment of Ken Starr as a special prosecutor. After $80 million of taxpayer money was spent, Starr's investigation led to Monica Lewinsky, which led to Bill lying about and later admitting his affairs, the blue dress, don't forget the blue dress. Hillary's devious game plan resulted in Bill losing his license to practice law for lying under oath to a grand jury. And then his subsequent impeachment by the House of Representatives. Of course, he was not convicted by the Senate, but he was impeached by the House. Hillary avoided indictment for perjury and obstruction of justice by repeating, "I do not recall, I have no recollection, and I don't know," a total of 56 times whilst under oath. Will she do that tonight on debate? I don't know, I do not recall. After leaving the White House after 2 terms, Hillary was forced to return an estimated $200,000 in White House, and that's U.S. taxpayer furniture, china, and artwork that she had nicked. What a wonderful person. And are we ready for another 4 or 8 years of this individual now driving the bus? We are now exposed to the unsecured keeping and attempted destruction of beyond top secret emails while Hillary was Secretary of State, and the pay-to-play schemes of the Clinton Foundation. What shoe will fall next? Well, I think it just fell. It was Friday when Cheryl Mills, her chief of staff, it was revealed had been offered immunity to testify. I think that's a grand mistake if we made this woman President of the United States. I mentioned yesterday, and I have since researched and come up with the data, Chelsea Clinton's apartment and why Hillary went to Clinton's apartment. Chelsea lives at the Whitman, which is 21 East 26th Street, number 4, and it's in the Flatiron district of New York. Also listed at 21 East 26th Street, 4th floor, is the Metro Care Home Services. The problem is the Flatiron building is apartments, 1 apartment per floor. The 4th floor is Chelsea's apartment. The 4th floor is the Metro Care Home Services, Inc., and that's 21 East 26th Street. For a woman very secretive about her ambiguous medical conditions, who avoids hospitals like the plague, it did seem strange that when Clinton brought this incredibly expensive apartment for their daughter in 2013, they may have also purchased it with the intent of using it as a secret private medical treatment facility for Hillary to use during her anticipated campaign. It is now underway. To the press, it would only appear Hillary was just dropping in for a visit with her daughter Chelsea and to see the grandchildren, when in reality she is receiving medical treatment and controlled substances from private physicians and private pharmacists on private property. No need for disclosure. So if Chelsea's apartment served its secret purpose flawlessly when Hillary had her 9/11 fainting spell, it makes sense that to establish a clandestine medical facility in a residential apartment, one which is legally compliant with the Controlled Substances Dispensing, Stocking, Delivery, and Shipping requirements, and one that is able to legally supply and treat a private patient with drugs needed, one would also have to register the address as a medical treatment facility. In this case, I would assume the Clinton Foundation would be the controlling entity. A staff and a private doctor or a pharmacist would then be employed, and Hillary has 2, to legally treat the patient, practice medicine within the confines of the private residence, and dispense drugs to that private patient without any disclosure. The sham medical facility, while legally registered as a public care facility, would have also to be closed to the public in order to operate without any disclosure. This is exactly what appears to be taking place at 21 East 26th Street, 4th floor, New York City, New York. Well, at the Villages in Florida last week, there was a bumper sticker on the parked car that read, "I miss Chicago." Someone broke the windows, stole the radio, shot out all 4 of the tires, added an Obama sticker on the bumper, and left a note that read, "Hope this helps." So we're in good grounds. Listen, I want to remind you to by all means watch the debate tonight, and if you're living here in Ellijay, come to Pools Barbecue at 8 o'clock, like Brian reported. Now I'm going to go one other step on a couple of Georgia's important things. This is the amendment on school choice. I know I have it here because I like it. It was an important one. Well, just bear with me 1 second here, and we'll get to it. How I will vote on constitutional amendments. The Opportunity School District, many times, the author of this report is a fellow named Don Cole, who lives in South Georgia. Many times he says that he has solicited his opinion about various issues on the ballot. This year in Georgia, we have 4 proposed amendments to ratify or reject, and this is the first one we'll talk about today. I will be writing 4 commentaries with my opinions and my reasoning. Proposed amendment number 1, the Opportunity School District, Mr. Cole says, reports. The Opportunity School District, shall the Constitution of Georgia be amended to allow the state to intervene in chronically failing public schools in order to improve student performance? Sounds wonderful, doesn't it? He recommends a no vote, and here is his quick reasoning. The wording of this amendment is deceiving, particularly the last 6 words, in order to improve school performance. This amendment creates another layer of bureaucracy in the state. Education already consumes half of the state budget. Half of the state budget. We have local school boards and a superintendent. We have a state school board and a state superintendent. Now, this bill will create yet another school district with another superintendent under the governor's office. The superintendent will have sweeping powers and be assured this new school bureaucracy will grow. So all we need is another layer of tax-funded bureaucrats, particularly in our education system. Now, let's detail the reasoning. A one-question description is inadequate to fully explain the impact of a yes or no vote. The wording of the amendment is designed to generate a yes vote. Any conservative who believes in smaller government should give pause before voting yes. The amendment creates yet more layers of bureaucracy and government growth, beginning with the Opportunity School District. Time? Okay. With the Opportunity School, the OSD, the Opportunity School District, would be under the Office of Student Achievement. I've never heard of that one before, which is controlled by the governor. The governor appoints a school superintendent to the OSD. The OSD superintendent reports directly to the governor. And it's time for another break, and so I'll be right back, and we'll continue this discussion on Amendment 1.
Hello, America.
Right now at Pizza Hut, you can get any 2 medium pizzas for $6.99 each. Get any toppings, any crust flavor, anything you want for just $6.99 each. And sweeten the deal with a Hershey's Triple Chocolate Brownie for just $5.99. Only at Pizza Hut.
What you gonna do with all that junk?
I'm Sheriff Dane Kirby, and I'll stand up for you.
I'm Stacy Nicholson, Sheriff of Gilmer County, and I will stand up for you.
Stand up and speak out. No matter how rich, cool, talented you believe yourself to be, how you treat people ultimately tells all. I am Allison Sosby, District Attorney, and I'll stand up for you.
El Rey and Ella J.
El Rey Mexican Restaurant.
Family owned and operated and a local favorite for families, parties, and meetings.
Great prices.
Friendly service and delicious Mexican cuisine.
Patio dining available.
Come sing in Carlos's Cantina every Friday 9 to 1.
Eat in or take away.
Same location for 14 years. Open 7 days at the corner of Maddox Drive and 515. North Georgia's favorite Mexican cuisine. El Rey and Ella J.
The summer sell down is on at Days Chevrolet in Jasper with huge savings up to 16% off MSRP. Save over $4,100 off Malibu Limited. Now just $19,500. Save $9,500 on loaded Silverado Crew Cab LT. Now only $38,700. Save up to 16% off MSRP on select new Chevys in stock during the summer sell down. Going on now at Days Chevrolet in Jasper.
Better days ahead, Days Chevrolet.
Find new roads.
North Georgia Diamond is your source for diamonds. Come on in to view the area's largest selection of fine jewelry at North Georgia Diamond. All repairs and designs are done on site by our jewelers. And North Georgia Diamond has the lowest prices on loose diamonds. You can also sell your gold, silver, and coins at North Georgia Diamond between Walmart and Lowe's in East LJ. Locally owned by Bill and Allison Craig, North Georgia Diamond is your source for diamonds in North Georgia.
Hello, America. The first ever $5 flavor menu is here, and it's a game changer. For just $5 each, you can get a medium one-topping pizza, Wing Street Wings, a Hershey's cookie, and your other Hut favorites. A Pizza Hut pizza for just $5. It's the ultimate crowd pleaser.
How are you feeling, crowd?
Very pleased, thank you.
We do what we can here.
$5 for a Pizza Hut pizza. How can we not be pleased?
Good crowd today.
The $5 flavor menu, America's best pizza deal, only at Pizza Hut.
Well, welcome back, Sun Worshippers. This is George McClellan at Georgia's Hour and FetchingNews.com, North Georgia's only live online TV talk show. You can call and talk. You're always welcome to do it at 706-889-9700, or you can contact me, George at FetchingNews.com. We were talking about Amendment 1 coming up on this next election and why you should vote no on Amendment 1. The OSD, the Opportunity School District. Here are some key quotes from that bill. The Opportunity School District shall be authorized to select up to 20 qualifying schools to add to the OSD in any single year. Can you imagine if they took 20 a year, how many years it would take before they had the whole state? The final selection of which schools are transferred into the OSD shall be the sole discretion of the OSD superintendent. We have a dictator. We are empowering an educated dictator. Somebody with a PhD from a liberal school, appointed by a governor, PhD piled higher and deeper. The OSD superintendent is authorized to waive specifically identified state board of education rules. So like Clinton's and Obama, if the rules don't work, forget them, sweep them away. He can waive specific rules of Board of Education's regulations, policies, and procedures, or provisions of Chapter 2 of this title for opportunity schools. Now, there are just 3 bullet points that are found on a single page of the 13-page law. They are expected to coincide with these extra layers that will result in improved student performances. Who will believe that? There is an addictive urge to grow a bureaucracy, given the power to add 20 schools per year, and you can predict that the OSD superintendent will identify exactly 20 schools every year that need his special attention. A candidate running for office will call for local control of education and smaller government, yet this amendment does just the opposite. At some point, we have to seriously challenge the growth of big government and allow local communities to address their own educational issues at the local levels. If we really want to intervene in chronically failing schools, then we should offer school choice and let money follow the student. That's the voucher system. We would see improvement in schools, parents, and students would then be valued customers instead of ignored and passed over. Another bureaucracy to intervene in chronically failing schools will not improve student performance. Instead, it will add more administrators, burn up more tax dollars, and frustrate local communities. It will also place yet heavier burdens on one group that can improve student performances, and that's the classroom school teacher. So, if you have taken notes, it's a no vote for Amendment 1. I'll discuss Amendment number 2 with you tomorrow. In the meantime, just going through some of the news headlines, it's always fun to read these and see where we are. Debate audience burst into laugh when congressional candidate claimed Hillary was honest, and I think I should have got rid of that. That was last week I read that. Clinton's lead looks precarious. We've mentioned this before. The Democrats are starting to get excited. I also mentioned about the FBI dump of more documents on a Friday night, mind you. Witnesses were nervous about talking to the FBI about Hillary Clinton's email server. President Obama used a pseudonym is a nickname, to contact Clinton on her private email server. He lied to us. The president lied to us. He said first he learned about Hillary's private email server was when he read it in the newspaper like the rest of us. He lied to us. He claimed he didn't know about Clinton's team tried to destroy emails from her server after the New York Times reported that she had done nearly all of her work on it, with staffers even shattering the disks that contained them. And Clinton's staff lost a thumb drive that contained all of her emails, public, private, classified, and unclassified. These are among just a few of the revelations in the new documents that were dumped last Friday night. Can we believe this? Can we believe this? And where did she leave the thumb drive? And they left classified documents in a Russian hotel, for God's sakes, of all places. Well, this is all food for the goose, food for the gander, and I can guarantee you Trump knows all of this stuff. It comes out so fast we can't even keep up with it. The dump included a 189-page summary of interviews conducted in the year-long investigation of Hillary Clinton's private server. The report, which was made private, came on the heels of House Republican revelation that 3 additional witnesses had received immunity arguments from the Justice Department, bringing the total number of witnesses who were shielded from prosecution to 5. And they didn't even bother to tell the Congress or Chaffetz about it. Someone was messing with the Freedom of Information Act. After the public learned of Clinton's private email use, Congress and watchdog groups began demanding the release of emails. The House Select Committee on Benghazi had already requested records relating to the 2012 terror attack, and Freedom of Information Act cases that had been closed improperly came back to life again. But one witness told the FBI he believed that there was interference with the formal FOIA project. The witness pointed to the collection of 296 Benghazi emails that were among the first records to emerge publicly from Clinton's email trove. The unnamed individual told the FBI that State Department officials had included redactions done for Clinton's privacy and unrelated to national security. According to the witness, State Department officials at one point attempted to classify information in order to have an excuse to redact it, even though the agency's own Office of Legal Counsel thought the email was not worthy of classification. The witness said he and other career officers who were typically involved in the FOIA process and in responding to congressional inquiries were cut out of the loop when Clinton's emails needed processing. Instead, new staffers were placed on by top state officials, top meaning Hillary Clinton and Cheryl and Huma Abedin, to take over the job of screening Clinton's emails. The witness said the officials whose identity was redacted had a very narrow focus on all Clinton-related items and were put in positions that were not advertised. Well, what does that tell us? They're corrupt, absolutely corrupt. And we expect that this woman will run our government safely for 4 more years? I don't believe so. So if you have any questions, send me an email. We'll talk about it. In the meantime, I'm going to give you my final thoughts. This hour is quickly coming to a close. And I wanted to talk about political prodigies. Political prodigies. See if we can get that one up. Got everything on this nice little list, nice little pad, but I think I'm going to have to make a step in the right upgrade here one of these days to something better. I wonder why it's taking so long to come up. It's fully charged. The word is that George H.W. Bush said he was going to vote for Hillary. Didn't say he was not going to vote for Trump. That is suspect because it has not been confirmed, a rumor only, started by Kathleen Kennedy. I remember H.W. Bush, George H.W. Bush, is also a one-worlder like Hillary is. So while it's not confirmed, I still have my suspicions. Mitt Romney, however, desperately seeking around like a compass needle for a Trump alternative, has finally found his true north in the character of the Libertarian candidate Gary Johnson, former governor of New Mexico, I believe. Romney's efforts will be futile. Americans are weary of the old ideas of the antique oligarchs of the Republican Party after their failures to pursue conservatism and the rule of law, or resist Obama's depredations against the U.S. Constitution. But instead, they facilitated his programs by improving the waste of taxpayer money to fund programs in omnibus spending bills, which happened to, whatever happened to their promise to defund Planned Parenthood. We are not happy. Folks like Romney, Bush, Kasich, and McCain now stand witness to the demise of their way of political life, pretending to be American statesmen. They want to be able to tell the American people, if Trump should lose, that it's our fault, that we should have listened to them and all would have been well. Either way, if Hillary loses, it'll be too late for America. Nothing else will matter except what comes out of the barrel of a gun. Mao Zedong said that. Americans are especially weary of the Bush and the Romney families and have turned away from their soothing counsel. The geriatric John McCain and the officious blowhard from Ohio, John Kasich, having no vast families behind them, crowding to push ahead, are here only for the duration. The same applies to little Marco and Ted Cruz. The Clintons have laid their hopes for the political future on their only prodigy, one daughter, Chelsea, now corrupted by both her parents and her husband. At least she has had two foals to carry on the Clinton legacy, if any exists, by another name, of course. America fought a war against what was once arguably the greatest military force in the world, the power of the British Empire. The British lost an important portion of their empire, the 13 American colonies, not because they suffered from military weakness, but because the Americans had a better intelligence apparatus working against them. What does that leave? Where does that leave us today as far as ideas? Today we are in a war our government won't even recognize. Islam has declared jihad against the West, its culture, its religions, and its freedoms. Islam is a fascist concept of population control, weakened over the centuries by incestual relationships, leaving a violent cadre of weirdos whose worldly education is limited to studying the Quran and the writings of the Prophet Muhammad. The religion of peace subsequently turned its ambitions to subjugation by brutality, mayhem, conquest, and murder to spread their faith as demanded by the Prophet in the name of Allah. Romney, Kasich, Bush, and others don't understand that. Or if they do, they have already planned for an exit when the killing starts, leaving the rest of us here to fend for ourselves. As never Trump critics, it is clear they would prefer Trump to suffer an electoral disaster that would justify their admonition that he would indeed destroy the Republican Party. It is also clear that never Trump forces of Romney and Bush haven't thought this thing through. Americans don't care about Donald Trump's faux pas. He's learning. He's saying the right things. He makes the right promises. He sees the future, the same future we see. He is what America needs right now, even if he fails through Democrat chicanery at the polls. Look at the prodigy he leaves behind for the future. New blood, new stock, and smart kids to boot. So remember, freedom is the goal. The Constitution is the way. Now go support Trump. Vote, vote. How much time we got left? We're done. I'm being advised that my show is over, and I want to ask you to come back tomorrow at 10 o'clock for Georgia's Hour on Fetcher News TV, North Georgia's only live online talk show. Thank you very much. Bye.